Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Holo, and today in Diablo 4 it's time to talk uniques. Uniques are described as unique items, like this helmet here, specifically designed to enhance my class and my class core ability, Bone Spear. But they also come in universal forms of unique, like these gloves, the Fists of Fate, which can drop for everyone and everyone can equip them. These are very powerful, and most builds are going to have at least one, like my build here. Today I'm going to cover how uniques work, how best to get them, and take a look at the list of universal uniques that are extremely rare but insanely strong that you need to know about. When we come to the World Tier statue, you can see the World Tiers and describe the uniques here. In World Tier 3, you can see that sacred items and unique items now begin dropping. Whereas in Torment, you can see that new unique items begin to drop, which we believe increases the pool of potential uniques you can get in your game. So before Nightmare mode, you won't see any. And in Torment mode, you'll see them more often and more of them as a whole. Uniques like this one, as you can see, come with defined skills. This one has darkness skill damage, damage to shield enemies, damage to frozen enemies, and so on. But they have different numbers based on the item power level. As you can see, it increases the higher the item power, as you'd expect. But there's basically no RNG in them. You cannot extract these and imprint the effects onto other gear. Once you get them, they roll their eye level, and that's it. While said to be extremely rare, I found them drop relatively often, every few hours or so in normal gameplay, where legendaries are much more common. But the universal uniques seem even rarer than your class uniques. The perfect example of that would be the Harlequin Crest, a helmet which provides 10 to 20% damage reduction, which in itself is really good, but also plus 4 levels to all skills, which is just busted. That alone makes it probably the best unique legendary in the game, and it's very rare because of that. A full week after launch, no one in the entire game had found this thing, but it was highlighted, however, on Twitter by Adam Fletcher that the drop had happened to one single player as of June 10th. So arguably the best item in the game is probably one of the rarest, and that makes sense. Let's take a look at all the universal uniques that we can see from a data mine that helps us take a look at things that just don't seem to drop. First, Andariel's Visage. This unique helm provides a lucky hit, up to 15 to 20% chance to trigger a poison nova that applies poison damage over 5 seconds. This universal is probably not all that universal. As nice as that AoE poison could be, it's probably only benefiting those that benefit from poison. To my knowledge, that's potentially rogues, certainly not everyone else, so hard to argue for that one. The second helm is the Harlequin Crest, as we've just stated, is likely to be the best unique and potentially item in the game. Again, plus 4 to all skills is silly. Also, as we get into the higher tiers and endgame content, that 10 to 20% damage reduction is really good. Third, we have the Razorplate, which, hey, I actually have. As you can see, this gives you thorns. Thousands of thorns, roughly between 7,000 and 10,000. Thorns makes damage dealt to you reflect to those that hurt you. So high thorn builds are actually potentially very good. It was very popular in the betas of Thorn Barbarian, committing to that concept, but it's something I'm also thinking about for my Necromancer, because there's actually a skill where minions inherit some of your thorns you can get on your equipment. Therefore, having mega high thorns using the talent tree, general gear, and the Razorplate unique, and having your minions inherit that effect could potentially be a very strong defensive minion build, endgame build. Not for everyone, I'm sure, but something to consider. Next on our list are the hilarious Fists of Fate, which here I actually have. I've seen 3 of these drop, which hurts. They do have the potential to be awesome thanks to the fact that their aspect is tied to lucky hit. You will get a lucky hit and then deal 1% or up to 200 to 300% increased damage based on your roll. So sometimes do a big extra burst of attack, or sometimes do pathetically nerfed damage. I can't really see this being great in any endgame situation. It is like additive, as we can see. If it was a multiplier, it could be the strongest thing in the game when it's working, but since it's not, I'm not really convinced of this either way. Our 5th universal unique is the Frostburn gloves, which also have a lucky hit effect, up to a 15 to 25% chance to freeze an enemy for 2 seconds. That's some hard CC right there, especially if we can get it to trigger fairly often in, say, a pack of enemies, or on a really strong dangerous elite multiple times. That'd be awesome. If you can get some synergy like a sorcerer that increases their damage when dealing damage to a frozen enemy, that could be great. But universally, it's going to be hard to sell this because not everyone can get that, and you're giving up a glove slot, which, you know, isn't an offensive aspect spot. Next is Temerity, the unique pants which provide what I believe to be an awesome defensive effect. This triggers a barrier up to 40 to 80% of your maximum life for 8 seconds, that's pretty big, and it triggers when you heal over 100%, which could be from a massive roster of effects like picking up blood orbs from me as a Necromancer. Barriers are extremely strong, and a great way to reduce incoming damage completely. Temerity is in fact something I would love to get on my Necromancer to help with Nightmare Dungeon high tier survivability. So if you're looking to get more survivable, Temerity is a good option. For boots then, we have the absolutely top tier Penitent Greaves, which causes you to constantly leave a trail of frost behind you while moving. That trail will chill enemies, slowing them, which can lead to freezes if you can double up on that with your kit. But anyway, you will deal 7 to 10% more damage to chilled enemies, and with this effect you're chilling everything near you permanently. That's essentially a straight damage buff, which is brilliant on a boot slot, where that can be very hard to attain normally. Arguably, some of the best boots you can get in the game. Now it's time for the jewelry options, starting with the Melted Heart of Selig, a defensive amulet unique, in which you gain plus 30 to your max resources, very nice, but damage will now drain your resources, 3 to 6 for every 1% of life you would have lost instead. Potentially incredible as long as you can manage the resource loss during damage. It could entirely prevent death, and that could be amazing in high tier Nightmare dungeons. Next is the main story reward ring, Mother's Embrace, which I've rolled really well here at 40% of the max. It gives back the resource cost of a core skill if you hit 5 or more enemies with it. If your core skill is AoE focused, that can be great, but won't really have any relevance in single target. This one does drop in the universal unique pool though, even if it is a reward from the main story. I found 2 of them in the open world. Finally, we have the Ring of Starless Skies, causing consecutive core skill casts to reduce the cost of the next core skill between 8 to 12%, up to a max of 40%. Potentially very nice for builds that spam its core ability back to back to back, using resources to do so. But for my Bone Spear Necro, it's not really worth it, because then I'm ignoring the benefits of using my other abilities, which enhance my damage. Not really worth. But maybe, could be for other classes. And that's the last wearable universal unique to mention. There are a few universal weapons, but not every class can use those weapon types, so hardly universal in truth. Now we know what's out there, what might be good for us. What's a way to get these? Well, there's no straightforward answer to farming uniques, but there's 4 very solid options to know about. Firstly, Nightmare dungeons. They're a great method because at the end, it always rewards 2 items. These are extremely often legendaries and therefore have that chance to roll unique. I have personally claimed 3 to 4 unique legendaries from simply completing a Nightmare dungeon. It doesn't even matter what tier it is. The first one I found was in a tier 8, which was very early days. Nightmare dungeons are also great XP, good loot, and the way to level your glyphs as an all-rounder method for farming uniques at the same time. I recommend it. Second, and arguably best for consistent results, are the normal dungeon farms where you find high elite spawns and have great time to clear runs. But with Champion's Demise now nerfed, and then the replacement Ruins of Eridu now also nerfed, I can't really say here's a specific dungeon. Even though there will be a new one that crops up and probably will be in the community already at this point, chances are 6 hours later they're going to nerf it, because I guess they really want us to farm our XP through Nightmare dungeons and the general open world content that pops up. That's all well and good in my opinion, but I really think they need to buff Nightmare dungeon XP to actually make it competitive and worth doing. I totally get them not wanting us to do one individual dungeon over and over when this awesome Nightmare dungeon system exists, but how about you buff that while also making the singular dungeons that people are farming weaker? That way it doesn't feel as terrible and encourages people to do the thing you clearly want us to do, which is Nightmare dungeons. The third method is of course the weekly world bosses, which consistently drop legendaries every time you kill them, and then there's the weekly legendary cache from each. It's not something you can go do consistently like the other 2 methods, but it's still an important way to get them all the same. The last method is the Helltides. Helltides have mystery chests around them, which can be opened for 175 cinders, and they must be found as they don't appear on the map until you're near them. As you can see though, they're so worth opening and focusing because they often drop multiple legendaries, up to 4 at a time, which is insane. Every drop could be a unique, so whenever they're up, it's a good idea to do them. And also, when you open these chests, you get the vital resource for rerolling skills on gear and upgrading gear, so it's all very worth. But there you have it. That's my overview of the universal uniques, details around all of it, and some good methods to farm them. If you have any extra advice, you can drop it in the comments, you might help someone. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.